The witness immediately contacted the desk officer upon discovery of the scene. The desk officer took down important details such as the name of the caller, address, situation, relationship with the victim, and etc. After that, the desk officer immediately contacted the nearest first responders to proceed in the scene and contacted the investigator on case about the alleged suicide case happened in that location. The first responder arrived at the crime scene and evaluated the situation, took down notes on important details in the scene. The victim is obviously dead and proceeded to cordon or secure the area and interview the witness present in the crime scene. Upon arrival of the investigator on case, the first responders immediately turn over the situation to the IOC, and the IOC assumes full responsibility of the crime scene. The IOC conducted initial investigation process, such as initial inquiry of the scene, documentation, photography, evaluation of physical evidence present in the crime scene. Upon assessing the crime scene, the IOC requested for SOCO through the COP. Upon receipt of the request for the conduct of SOCO, the SOCO will now proceed to the crime scene and conduct investigation on the incident. The team leader evaluates his team and delegate tasks and brief them about the role in the crime scene. The team leader together with the photographer and sketcher first enter the crime scene and conduct documentation, photograph sketch, and videography. The team leader constantly take down notes. The photographer photographs the scene in long, medium, and close range view, while the sketcher sketches the whole crime scene and conduct measurements. The team leader together with the evidence collector used grid search method of the crime scene to thoroughly search for minute evidence. The evidence collector then marked the evidence with biological evidence marked with letters and physical evidence marked with numbers. The evidence collector together with the team leader collect pieces of evidence starting with removing the victim from the scene. The evidence collector collect a sample of wet blood by swabbing the evidence with cotton and allowing it to air dry before putting on brown paper. The evidence collector will then put his initials and signature with date assessed by team leader. In collect of gun, the collector must unload first the handgun for safety and mark the gun in a trigger guard before packing it. The bullet evidence is put in a sterile plastic bag signed by the collector. The dried blood on wall. The technique that the collector did is that he carefully scraped sufficient amounts of sample and put in brown bag. The evidence gathered will be received. The evidence custodian and assume responsibility in the chain of custody of pieces of evidence gathered. After the assessment of the crime scene, the IOC assumes responsibility for releasing the crime scene. The IOC shall conduct final assessment and survey of the scene, and then the IOC shall authorize the lifting of cordon with the notion that there is only one chance to perform the job correctly and completely.